you must change your mindset first, which then changes your emotions, actions, and results. And then the results are what the thing that you're actually looking for. Like if you say, I want to quit smoking cigarettes or I want to go to the gym 7 days a week. A lot of people say these things to themselves. They have not changed their core belief about themselves. And so at that point, it's just all willpower.
Hey, I'm JR Lay. Welcome back to another episode of the Level Up Business Podcast, where today we're going to explore the habits that you must learn to master before you see results and become the top 1% of what you do as a B2B entrepreneur. But first, I'd like to invite you to get a copy of my best-selling book, Banking on Change. It is the leader's guide to achieving exponential growth in the age of AI. Text me 832-240-1922. And I will text you a copy so that you can level up your mind, level up your marketing, level up your sales, level up your business, and level up your life. Now, joining me for today's conversation is Chris Walker. He is the founder of Paceto, where he helps CEOs and go-to-market leaders accelerate growth, lower CAC, and maximize enterprise value through go-to-market optimization. Welcome to the show, Chris. It's good to see you today.
JR, great to be here. First podcast back for me. I've been traveling and doing some self-reflection for about a month. And so longest time I haven't recorded a podcast. And so this seems like a perfect one and fitting, and happy to be here with you.
Well, I'm glad you're getting back in the saddle, and it's good to be back in the saddle with you. You have been away for a month. Travel, new places, new locations, new experience. It gives new perspective about where you've been, where you're at. Where have you been for the last month?
So physically, I spent some time in Tulum. Tulum's a magical place for me. A lot of breakthroughs in terms of like what I understand about myself and what I'm doing in the future and my purpose and mission and how I can help people. So I started in Tulum, and then ended up in Sydney, Australia, and then some time in the Great Barrier Reef, which was really cool. Another part of Australia, and then a couple places in New Zealand, and then the last 8 days I spent with my girlfriend in Fiji. And Fiji also a very magical place where a lot of breakthroughs happen for me. So if you look at the pattern and trend, it feels like tropical beach is really like the place, and there are certain places that really work for me. So I was about a month long. Something that I'm really proud of is that for the past 5 years, I've run and scaled multiple businesses. And if I ever wanted to take a vacation, I could, take a week, and I'd be stressed the whole time during vacation, and I'd come back and my calendar would be buried and I'd have so much to do and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of people can feel that viscerally. And this time I went away for a month, and my business has continued to grow and deliver profit, and customers are happy, and everything continued to move. And so I'm proud and excited for where my businesses are. I'm proud for my evolution and what I can share for other entrepreneurs and leaders to reach this level of what I'll call freedom. I think that like when it really comes down to it, freedom has been the word that has been in my like mind and soul about what I've been exploring. And I think early on in my career, I think I share this with a lot of people that are doing like have a 100K a month agency or 100K a month business or something like that. They think that money is the thing, the path to freedom.
Oh,
It's one of 10 things. And if you just chase the money, you end up locking yourself in a jail where you have a bunch of money and have no other types of freedom. And so I'm spending a lot of time helping other entrepreneurs that are already like well on their way to unlock some of the other types of freedom and find those things within themselves.
it's something that Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach, he writes about, called them the four freedoms: freedom of time, freedom of relationship, freedom of purpose, freedom of money. And so as you're thinking about your freedoms here and your time, you recently posted on LinkedIn that's what caught my eye. And I think it's a great segue for our conversation today. Mindsets, habits, belief to behavior. You're talking about relationship with money, for example. Um, I wrote about some of these subjects in Banking on Change, and I want to roll the clock back a little bit because I think you've given some perspective here, but you focused in this post on the importance of mastering certain habits. Like you mentioned before, like if you went away for a week, you'd come back stressed, overwhelmed. You went away for a month and everything continued to work.
And I
What
feel ahead.
you feel ahead.
Hmm.
So that's a whole different perspective, even of a past experience to now what you're experiencing here. When it comes to what you shared in this post, mastering certain habits before results show up. What inspired you to develop and stick with these disciplines?
When you think about it as an actual principle, and if you can really understand this principle, I think it segues into this. And at the highest level, it's that you must change your mindset first, which then changes your emotions, actions, and results. And then the results are what the thing that you're actually looking for. And so, for instance, like if you say, I want to quit smoking cigarettes or I want to go to the gym 7 days a week, a
Uh,
lot of people say these things to themselves. They have not changed their core belief about themselves. And so at that point, it's just all willpower. And then the willpower runs out somewhere between 15 and 90 days. And then you go back to the same belief that you already had. So let's talk through this in a lot of detail. The first thing is a circumstance. A circumstance is outside of you and totally neutral. A circumstance is not a fact. It's something that happens that if two people look at it, they could interpret it totally different. Right? It's raining outside. Someone might say this is amazing. Now all the plants can get water. Another person said this is terrible. Now I can't go to the beach. It's a circumstance. The thought that you have about it is what drives everything after that. So the thought being this is terrible, now like I can't go to the beach, then your emotion is driven by your thought, which could be sadness, shame, guilt, something like that, which then drives your action, which might be okay, so now I'm not going to go to the beach and I'm not going to be happy. And then you get your result, which is I don't go to the beach, which reinforces the thought that you had in the first place that this is bad. And then the same thing on the good side. Okay, this is great. Now, like all the plants can get water and we can do whatever. Then you feel, confident or happy or satisfied or have satisfaction. Then your emotion follows that. And then your action might be that you do something indoors, you work on your business or you spend time with your family or something like that. And then you get a different result. And so the key thing to think about here is that the thought pattern is actually what drives everything.
yep.
When you realize that, then you think, okay, so mindset and the thoughts are actually the most important thing that then drive the actions. And so a lot of people try to do it the other way around. They think, I'll get in shape when I start making 10K a month,
Mhm.
or I'll start working on journaling once I like go to the gym all these times. And it's actually the reverse. So mental programming is step one. And then the habits that come out of that mental programming, the actions that come out are step two. And then the results that you get from that thinking and those actions are step three. And so when you think about it, and maybe in the post it was a lot more action oriented, because I think that's good for people. But when you really break it down, it's reprogramming your mindset first, and then taking the actions based on that.
I appreciate the philosophical approach because I think it's the first principles here, and we got to roll back to the core foundation. I've been asking a lot of leaders in my keynotes, what's the most important technology that you got to master in this age of AI? It's a bit of a rhetorical question. They're like, "Well, Jr., it's AI, right?" I'm like, "No, it's not." "Well, is it analytics?" "No." Is it automation?" "No." I said, What if it's the technology that sits between your ears?" And they
Mm.
pondered for a bit, the coming back to the idea of the mind and the mindset. And your perspective on reprogramming or thinking differently, metacognition, thinking about your thinking and how that influences everything. I even think about some of the keynotes that I've done and ask the question, okay, well, if we're thinking about transformation of any type, whether that be, what has been the buzzword for years, digital transformation or marketing sales transformation, the step one is to see things differently. And you're here at this conference, you're probably seeing things differently. Yes or no? Yes, I am. Maybe you're going to see something, hear something different on this podcast. And so that's step one. Step two is when you begin to see different, you're going to begin to think different. Back to your point of it's a matter of perspective. But then I want to get your take on this. And you probably will have a different perspective based upon where we're already going. When one begins to see different and one begins to think different, what's the third step?
Feel different.
You're and I knew you were gonna go there, but it's interesting because 98% of executives that I've asked this question to, they'll jump and say, "Well, I'm just gonna be or act or I'm gonna do different." I go, "Really? That's super interesting." I'm like, "Are there things in your life?" Because I'll be the first one to step in line and say, "Listen, I'll raise my hand. I know I have the intellectual perspective that I need to do something different, but I'm failing to take action. What about you?" They're like, "Huh, I've never considered that before." Why did you say feel? Like, how has your perspective been shaped around this or reshaped, I should say?
Emotions and feelings drive action. When you feel confident, you take certain actions. When you feel lack of confidence, or you don't do anything. It's inaction. And that could go for shame, guilt, peace, love, whatever emotion that you're feeling is going to dictate the actions that you take at that moment. And when you recognize that your feelings are driven by your thoughts around the circumstances that you have in your life, that's sort of the programming. And then when you feel different, you take different actions, and when you take different actions, you get a different result. And so that's an ongoing programming. And just to your point on the conference thing and the between your ears, I know now, it's not a thinking, it's a knowing that humans run on an operating system. And that most humans, even successful ones, if you look back at me like 4 or 5 years ago, were running Windows 95. And when you start to peel back the layers, the first step is reprogramming your mind. And then as you go deeper than that, it's actually starting to get in touch with like your energy. And I believe in that a ton now. And I believe that humans have superpowers that get conditioned. If you look at what's happening right now, there's plenty of Instagrams right now with kids that can levitate and kids that can bend spoons. And what happens is kids have superpowers. They're born with them, and then they get programmed out of them at school and through conditioning of media and things like that. And then you end up in this place with the limiting beliefs and other types of blocks that block you from the powers that you've always had. And if you can remove those blocks and things like that through mental reprogramming and other things like that, you can get back in touch with the powers that you've had all along.
You're giving me goosebumps, because that's the whole point of level up business. Yes, it's to level up your mind, level up your marketing, level up your sales. But you got to first and foremost start with the mind here, and your perspective on guilt, shame. It reminds me of Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness. It's like we
Hmm.
get stuck in this lower energy state, and we cycle through guilt, shame, fear, anger, and then we can't break out of that. But if you're familiar with that, the line to go from that survival paradigm to more of a thriving paradigm, it's courage. And coming back to this idea of habits, you mentioned in your post when you were developing these habits, it took over a year before you saw tangible results. I even saw someone post the other day on LinkedIn, we get so focused on revenue as the result. And I'm like, oh, revenue is just like your six pack abs. Like your six pack is the result of the commitment and the dedication to discipline, just like revenue is the result of all these like micro habits over a course of time. How did you stay consistent when the results weren't immediately visible with the work that you were doing here yourself?
By knowing who you are and knowing what you're capable of. And I have a journal right here. I have more than 200 of them fully completed. I have this exercises that I've been evolving through my own every day for the past 5 years. I first just did a morning exercise. Now I do a morning exercise whenever I need it during the day, and an evening programming exercise.
Mhm.
um, and through ongoing reinforcement of your identity, who are you, ongoing reinforcement of empowering beliefs that reprogram out limiting beliefs that you're able to find inside of you through self-awareness, reprogramming of knowing what you're capable of, what's going to happen, what you're going to do. And then with that clarity, being very clear on the actions that you're going to take throughout the day that are really important. And with that level of clarity, it's a super fascinating thing. Is what you find is that the actions that you take oftentimes are you're just doing a bunch of stuff for no reason. Doing, and, sitting on 15 Zoom meetings every day and going nowhere.
Mm.
And it's the actions, and this is going to sound so weird for a lot of people. I can already expect this. The actions are actually the least important. The clarity of who you are and what you're doing and why, I think I know is actually the most important.
How does one gain that clarity? Because you held up that journal, and I think about whenever I was writing Banking on Change and the research that we were doing. We don't take time to stop, pause, to review, to reflect, to take the month like you did to really, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing?
Yeah, this has been an ongoing daily thing. And how you get there is you, through self awareness, identify what are the things that I'm thinking in my head that aren't helping me anymore. They got programmed into me during at some point in my life, whether it's through my parents or something that happened in high school or a past relationship that I had or a business that failed or whatever. First, recognizing this isn't me. This is an idea that was given to me that I decided to take at some point. Identifying what it is, shifting the belief instead of I'm not good enough to make $100,000 a month, and shifting it to I'm worthy just being me, and money is easy, or whatever the belief is that's super empowering, and then reinforcing that belief somewhere between 90 days and 2 years, depending on how deep it is and how much you believe it. And then you'd be amazed how fast, when you actually believe the thought and you have a core belief in it, how quickly your emotions, your actions, and your results will change for you.
I want to give a very personal anecdote here to make this even more real for some watching and listening, because I've experienced this and I've been working on this myself. In 2012, I had taken my business. At that point, it was 10 years old, well over seven figures for multiple years in a row. October 4th, 2012, my wife, we had just had our second child, maybe 6 months before. October 4th was the date, actually. October 4th, 2012. She said, "It's the family or the business." She was dead serious because I was an asshole and I was not the person that I could be. And I'm so grateful for my wife because she's a truth teller and she saw something in me that could be even greater. But that day, it put a. I just recently had a conversation with Jordan Boniface about this. It put a boulder in my river.
Hmm.
So every time since that point, up until about a year ago, that I would get to seven figures again, I'd get scared. I'd back off. I'd fall back to a level of safe that wouldn't put my marriage, family, relationship with my kids in jeopardy. That was nothing more than a lie that I was telling myself based upon some emotion that I experienced because of the pain that I caused my wife. 'Cause it was a belief. And it's like, I didn't have the awareness until I had some objective third party perspective with Jordan Boniface sitting down and just reliving that, examining it, and then letting it go. I mean, how do we attach to these things? And we're not even. I think once again, I think this the level of awareness. How do we even create that awareness if we're not even aware of
It's
what?
yeah, it's entirely subconscious, and then it depends on the levels, right? So like I've been studying this quite a bit, as I like coach entrepreneurs and just observe people generally. There's some that are really obvious, right? Like with the visible actions that you take, right? You drink alcohol every single day, you have a drug problem, you act in scarcity or shame outwardly. Like those things are very visible, easy to find. You have some things that are like almost surface level, like beliefs that you can find, like I'm not worthy of money, or my business can't grow to more than X, or won't have my life or my freedom anymore. And you like block yourself off to that. And then there's these really deep seated ones that require almost what I find is someone else needs to help you identify what it is. That's like so deep that all the surface level ones stem from that. Like, I'm not good enough. So something so simple as something like that. I'm not worthy of love, or I'm not worthy of whatever. Um, and that you have to peel back the layers, right? So start with these ones that are super easy, like superficial and outward, and then work your way down, and then breaking that one, which is super hard, becomes like the thing that almost unlocks everything. And you can, as you break the superficial ones, you can make leaps in your life and your career, your business, your relationships, all those things. So it's not like you have to wait to the end to get this like result on it. You'll grow along the way. But I'll be vulnerable and share an example. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I had a business that was doing $20 million run rate, $20 million a year. I had hundreds of thousands of followers across a bunch of different social media platforms. My podcast was still known as a top business podcast across the world. It was growing so fast that LinkedIn was like, "You're the fastest growing agency that we've ever seen before." And like on paper, all these things are like super successful and working for me. And on the inside, I feel like I'm trapped in a jail. Um, and gosh, I'm almost getting like a little emotional right now. It's because I had a feeling of I'm not good enough, and tied my worth in my business performance and in my all those things. And so when those things were going well, I felt great. And when those things weren't going well, all my worth fell right out. And it's super important to be able to know that you're good enough and you're worthy regardless of any external circumstances out there. And when I had that level of realization, my life changed forever. Every single day I live blissfully. I feel incredible peace When things go wrong, I just know that it's a little hint that I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do, and I see it for what it is. I say thank you, and I change something.
That's so fascinating because that was me in 2012.
Mhm.
And I was speaking at all these events, getting all the awards, and everyone thought, "Oh my gosh, he's has this amazing life traveling," you know, and I was struggling with addiction. I was a liar. I think first and foremost, I was lying to my wife. Because I was lying to myself.
Yep.
And it took almost, I would say, 12 years for me to really fully work through that arc of where I was to where I'm at, to where it's like that level of freedom that you were talking about before. It's not just the financial, it's these other areas of purpose, time, money. You you felt like you were in a jail. You feel like you're free now. And there are these habits that you had mentioned, and I believe in them. And if we were having this conversation 12 years ago, I don't think that I would, because I think it's just you're over time, you see things differently. You mentioned getting up early, beating the sun up. How why is that important in developing kind of this what I would frame as, Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote about this, be your future self now. You're operating from a future state, beating the sun up. Why?
For me, and I'll just speak from my own experience, especially at the beginning. Beating the sun up to me meant that I wasn't going out, going to bars, fucking off on the weekends.
Mhm.
And so that was the like at its most basic form. If you're getting beating the sun up, it means that you're going to bed early. And going to bed early, I found is a superpower because not a lot. I mean, my parents told me this when I'm 16. I definitely don't want to be like them, but not a lot of good stuff happens at 12 midnight in a city or something like that. And so I think that is the most basic form. It's that. And then when I look at it at a different level, like when I feel compelled to wake up, I wake up. Like 2 days ago, I was up at 2 in the morning and I felt like so much energy. And I got up and I did like, it felt like a month's worth of work in 4 hours. And I just like flow with and then before most people have even woken up, I've gotten 6 hours of sleep and I've done a month's worth of work. And so I feel like just creating that habit of it's almost there's a discipline element to it too. Like when I was starting it, I would hit snooze like 2 or 3 times. Now I like literally up, going, got my stuff going. It's like now it's me. This is who I am. And through those actions, you can sort of reprogram your identity, and it's not like you're locked to it, right? For a minute, I was like a 4:37 wake up person, and then I started shifting it to 5:37, and right now I'm at 6:42, and it can
And
evolve as you're
actually waking up. You're not setting an alarm. Your body's naturally waking up, or you setting an
I
alarm?
typically wake up before my alarm. Even though I set the alarm as like a fail safe, but I typically wake up before my alarm.
Because I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have a consistent bedtime as well.
Consistent bedtime equals consistent wake time, consistent exercise time, and consistent morning routine. Yeah.
What's your morning routine? How are you starting your day?
I wake up, I have a little snack, and then I immediately do body movement, typically like some type of exercise. So I'll go to Barry's or work out at the gym. Like once or twice a week, I'll go for a run. I'm trying to work in some yoga. Then I get back and I do my journaling routine, which I honestly think has been the most impactful thing that I've done in my life, if I have to say it. Like, and I have a very consistent journaling routine that I've been evolving for the past 5 years almost. And then from there, I'll start doing either deep work or posting on social. So no consumption, but creation and posting on socials. And then I interact with the world. So I'll go out and make the couple of interactions that I think are the most impactful for that day. And then I'll get back and do reflection and deep work. And then I get the rest of the day to flow with it.
Let's go back to journaling because it's been such an impactful part of your, I'd say, continued growth and transformation. 5 years ago, you've been developing and optimizing this practice. For someone who's not even there yet, and how did you even get into the journaling practice, habit, activity to begin with 5 years ago?
When you think through the model of circumstances are neutral, they drive your thoughts then drive everything below it, your emotions, your actions, and your results, and the results are just confirmation bias to the thoughts that you already believe and think. When you fully believe that, then you can realize, oh, my thoughts create my reality. Actually, it's my beliefs create my reality. And when you fully internalize and recognize that, then you realize that journaling for 30 minutes or an hour every morning is just as important as meditation or going to the gym. It's definitely a fuckload more important than sitting in a meeting for your business. And so that's like the practical sort of thing about it. And part of it is being able to pull out and identify, like at the starting point, it would just, and it still is, like the beginning is structure, unstructured, free flowing writing. Write down everything that's in your head, what you're thinking. Even if you think that it's wrong or you don't want to write it down. Then you can go back through it and you can look and you can follow that the frequency pyramid that you talked about, and you can say, what are the, when I'm feeling shame, guilt, scarcity, fear, those types of emotions, what are the thoughts that are driving it? You can literally go through and circle them. And you can say, when I'm feeling love and peace and confidence and courage, what are the feelings or the thoughts that I'm thinking when I feel those feelings? And then you can look at all the ones that have low vibration emotions to it. And then those are your limiting beliefs, or the symptoms of your limiting beliefs. And then so that becomes a starting point, and then you can bring it in. You can start working on reprogramming. And so at its most basic form, I do think it's the most impactful thing that a human can do.
You mentioned the limiting beliefs. It's like I've been working it's to root these out. I forgot who said this, but your mind is like a garden. You got to keep rooting out the weeds. I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs who want to elevate their brand. They want to expand their influence. They want to do what you've done with the podcast. They want to do the video. They want to write the book. But then I hear them say, no, who's going to listen to me? I'm not smart enough. I don't know anything. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've been doing what you've been doing for 20 years. Your experience is your experience. And in fact, I think as we move further into this age of AI, it's the uniqueness that we all bring from our experience, our lived, our learned, our shared experience, that unique perspective. That's our gift to gift to others. But if we're lying to ourselves, we don't even unlock and give the opportunity to give the gift. What were the big beliefs, self-limiting beliefs that you've, as much as you freely want to share here,
Yeah.
that you've had to unpack and let go of?
Yeah. Let's talk about some big ones in no particular order. So I'm just going to go stream of consciousness. One of them, I need to suffer to be successful. And the reality is that suffering and resistance is just telling you you're not on the right path right now. And so it's weird. Like over the past 3 months, pretty much everything that I've believed about reality and business and life has gotten flipped exactly 180 upside down. Everything, when you're doing the stuff that's aligned to your purpose and your mission, everything should feel effortless. Your relationships, your business, your customers, your day-to-day life should feel effortless. And if it doesn't feel effortless, it means that something about it needs to change. And what we do as humans is we either take those beliefs and we say, oh, I need to push through this resistance, I just need to work harder and then I'll get through it. Or we know that we need to change something and we ignore it.
Can I pause you on that real fast? Because it's
Would love to.
you and I, we've never had a conversation.
First time.
The fact that you're showing up here, sharing this, before I would have said it was scary. Now I say this is really interesting. Tell me more,
Hmm.
because that was my life. 2023 to 2024 with my business. The resistance was real. It's like my business reached this peak in 2021, 2022, and then it just, and this was on my old business with the financial institutions before launching Level Up this year. And I was like grinding, pushing, forcing, fighting until I worked with someone, and he was a spiritual healer, Daniel White. And he said, listen, he said, you're a fighter. Why are you fighting? You've fought your whole life. Why don't you start just moving into a state of flow? And I was like, I don't know anything else. I've been fighting my entire life for everything. And I, like you, thought that success came through some sort of pain, like you had to fight and push. And perhaps that was my upbringing, you know, that's just that's all I knew. And what I've observed and have experienced since launching Level Up Business, it's been fun. It's been easy.
Easy.
It has not been a challenge. And I think that would have scared me before. No, this is different, man. So what have to fight? Or how did you frame that? You said, I got to,
I need to suffer to be successful.
it's a good one. What's another one?
Keep it rocking.
Yeah.
So and you can just put like any label in it. It's I'm not blank enough.
Mm.
So at the you mentioned one of them, but like when I was starting my journey, right? I like left my 9 to 5 and I'm starting my business and I feel compelled to like share my thoughts on LinkedIn. And what's the thought that's running in my head? I'm not smart enough. I'm not experienced enough. Nobody cares about what I have to say. I'm not saying anything interesting. That's the programming. And then through that programming, okay, what are you going to do? You're not going to post. You'll sit there and like comment and sit in the background and watch and consume. And so that thought I programmed out pretty quickly by recognizing it. And then one that was a little bit more recent, and you can like again insert words, but this is in relation to like intimate relationships, and it's like I'm not attractive enough. I'm not whatever enough. Um, and what's happening when you look at that is you don't feel it's like you're using the external world as validation and all it is actually is a mirror for how you think about yourself. So if you're worrying what other people think and say about you, it's really because you believe those things about yourself, if that makes sense. So if you're thinking, I
Oh,
think people don't think I'm attractive enough, in reality, it's you don't think you're attractive enough. If you're worrying about people think you're too short, it's because you think you're too short. And so the external world, anytime you're looking outside of yourself, it's a huge hint of like, okay, if I'm looking outside of myself for something, that means that I don't believe it about myself.
that validation. I'm curious how much that drives the entrepreneurial MO. It did for me for
It
years.
did for me. Like I loved getting 1,000 likes on a LinkedIn post. I loved people sending me messages telling me how smart I am. And at the same time, it really took me down when someone said something bad about me in a Slack channel, or someone sent me a message saying, "Hey, like you're full of shit," or something like that. Or a customer says something mean about me. It doesn't matter if you're so invested in hearing the good things, at the same time all the bad things are going to bring you down, and now I sit completely neutral. I don't get excited when people say good things about me. I'm happy. I'm happy and grateful that they send me a message and they got value from something that I did for them. That's great. And at the same time, there's a lot of people when you're doing something big or doing something different that are going to say bad things about you. They're invested in the world saying the same. And
Right.
so, like, and then they say bad things about me, and I literally feel absolutely no attachment or emotion to anything they say. And I haven't been able to say that before. Probably like about a year ago, I detached from those things. And it's just totally freeing to just know that everything that you need already sits inside of you.
You
And
bring up
yeah.
an interesting point about the world, those that want the world to remain the same. Once again, that was my business, the fighting. Fighting people, trying to help people who weren't interested in changing, specifically in financial services. And I'm like, wait a minute, why am I investing all of this energy? And energy is emotion and motion. And it's like I'm pouring all of this energy and not getting anything in return. And I just was feeling depleted. You're going through some of this yourself with change, transformation. What happens when you continue to change and transform as a leader, as an entrepreneur, but those that you've been helping, that you've invested in, they choose to remain the same? How do you navigate that complexity?
So for like most of my entrepreneurial career, I have basically been trying to tell people what to do and to try to like I look at it as a tugboat, right? They're out and I someone's got to pull them into shore and I'm the guy that's trying to like, pull them into shore. Um and that state of being leads to frustration, friction, because you're pulling someone that doesn't want to be pulled. So friction, frustration, a lot of negative or low vibration emotions.
Mhm.
And now I view myself as a lighthouse. And so I sit there and I shine, I share information, and the people that want to come to shore will come to shore. And I have no attachment to which boats drive by and go to the next port or which ones come to the port. And then with that, I find a lot of freedom, a lot of detachment from outcomes, and I magnetize people that are ready, and I repel people that aren't, and that also feels really good.
But that idea of magnetization reminds me of something else that I learned from Dan Sullivan over in Strategic Coach. He mentioned there's two types of people in life. One, they're batteries included. Two, there's people that are batteries not included. And I want to be around people who are batteries included because you get a multiplying effect with that. And it's like
Mhm.
what I was finding is I was, consistently around people that were batteries not included. And I found my energy just getting drained over the course of years. And it you can feel it just feels that back to the point of how we started this conversation, it just feels off.
Ooh,
It just feels off.
mm, I love that one. It's something I've been studying a lot, and I'm like super in tune with it right now. And if I look back in my life, and anyone can listen to this and know the same thing, you got this feeling in your stomach like something is off. And there's no you like think about it and there's no rational explanation as to why, and then you try to point to things outside of you like, oh, it's because like my wife didn't respect me earlier, or because like my business partner has been like, not working as hard as me, or one of the you just point to anything outside of you to blame why something feels off. And in reality, you already know what to do, and you suppress it and ignore it. It's one of the most powerful human superpowers that get programmed out of you in school, which is when you have a decision that you need to make, you feel something's off, and if you understand yourself, you know what to do already, but instead you go to the spreadsheet and you try to put things into a spreadsheet to make it make sense, and then you try to go and talk to five gurus and get those five gurus to try to tell you the answer. No, you already know the answer. And through that level of self-doubt, which that's what it is, it's self-doubt, you get further and further away from your powers. And when you listen to yourself and you take action immediately, you get closer and closer and you amplify your power. And so self doubt becomes a massive blocker. Once you get over, you got limiting beliefs, you got like, bad habits, that things that pull you away from your energy and things like that. And then after that, it's eliminating self doubt and trusting yourself.
That self-doubt pulling you away, it reminds me of something I wrote about in Banking on Change, the four fires of fear. There's fear of the unknown, there's fear of change, there's fear of failure, fear of judgment.
Hmm.
Something though that has actually came up in a conversation with another B2B entrepreneur was the fear of success.
Hmm.
Started to hack that, and how much of that doubt was moving them further away from who they believe that they were being called to be. Um, I mentioned, I've worked with my own guides and coaches over the years. Um, and it took a dark night of the soul moment to realize that I needed help. Uh,
Hmm.
have you worked with anyone externally, or is this all inner work that you're just doing yourself on your own by yourself?
I spent some time with a guy named Kevin Ao, who helped me with basically from limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs. And so a lot of the journaling core exercises I learned from him, and now have continued to make it my own.
Mhm.
But at this point now, I believe that I'm sort of on a frontier. And so I'm continuing to attract. I think a good way to say it is that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I expect that at this point, Kevin showed up in 2021, 2022 at the perfect time when I like needed that level.
Yeah.
And I expect that I'll have other people enter my field sometime soon on this next level. But it's the you have like a mindset level, and then after that you have an energetic level. And now I'm really exploring the energetic level. I'll give you a couple of different examples. So I can feel now, like I'll be at a restaurant, right? Went to a restaurant on Saturday night with my girlfriend, and they sit us at a table, and I can feel that it's not the right table. And then and people are like, "Oh, come on, bro, like this doesn't matter." And then I can be like, shift, and you can shift to a different table, and that table feels right. And recognizing the micro feeling and being able to shift the micro feeling is actually the gateway to being able to trust when you have a macro feeling to make a macro shift. I feel this feeling. I know I need to end this relationship, and then you end the relationship instead of self doubting yourself and staying in it for the next 3 to 6 months. This business isn't serving me anymore. I feel it. I know it. I need to release this business, and you actually do it instead of holding on to it for the next 3 years or forever. Being able to feel it both on a micro level and make micro adjustments, and feel it on a macro level and make macro adjustments, and being able to discern the feeling between micro and macro has been something that I've been really getting in touch with the past 6 months. And that this type of power really only gets unlocked once you get past the mindset and the habits.
Discipline, discernment, unlocking new levels of growth, unlocking the mind. It truly is transformative power that begins within. It starts with the self, it's the heart, the mind connection, the body, the soul, the spirit, all interconnected. As we start to wrap up here, what what are you feeling most hopeful, excited for about what you're creating, like you or attracting even for that matter, to continue to level up just yourself, your business, the work that you're doing?
Over the next 10 to 20 years, humans are going to go through a massive operating system upgrade. And that as you think about how AI is going to completely dissolve knowledge work, and then soon it's going to completely dissolve handwork, building a building, manufacturing a car, it's going to do all that stuff.
Mhm.
Where does that leave humans? Humans are going to be forced to go through a massive upgrade and what are the things that you have creativity, energy, intuition, um connection to higher intelligence. Like there are these elements that are what humans are going to do. That's like a 10 to 20 year vision, and I have broken down sort of the steps that happen to get there. And I'm not drive this is going to happen whether or not I drive it or not. And so I think that people should be this is not to scare anybody. This is the most exciting thing ever. That humans will then be able to truly unlock these powers that we've always had, that lead to love and bliss and high vibration emotions, um, and confidence and security and all of these things that everybody desires. And the craziest thing is that it's inside of you right now. And there are just blocks and things that get in the way from you experiencing what's always been in you. So that's what makes me most excited. And I'm gonna play my part in at the lowest level, helping some people find that within themselves in the next 30 to 60 days. I know it will happen. And then in the higher levels, find ways to help people at a broader scale.
Your perspective on AI and the transformations that are happening since writing Banking on Change, one of the things I've been encouraging is to detach from the doing, the identity. It's what I do, it's who I am. And creating more time, invest more time. And I think time is an investment. We invest the time to learn, to think, to then spend and invest time doing, but then create the space to review what we've done, to learn, to think, to do even better. And the faster that we cycle through that, I think the faster that's how we continue to level up and elevate. And um, the EQ, the emotional intelligence, when combined with the AQ, our adaptability intelligence, is going to be greater than just the IQ. You know, as the AI continues to surpass our intelligence, well, we have other intelligences
Hmm.
we tap into and still create value for each other, as humanity. This has been such a wonderful conversation today, Chris. Thank you for sharing time with me. I always want to send someone who made it this far. They've watched, they've listened. What can they do next to apply to what we've talked about? Just something small, something practical, actionable that they can at least begin to make progress to level up their mind, their business.
Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, um, before you interact with anybody, grab a notebook or 4 sheets of printer paper or whatever you can find and write down everything that's in your head. How you're thinking about your day, how you think about your relationships, how you think about your job, what you wish you were doing, what you think that you're meant for, if you how you aligned you feel, what your energy feels like, what emotions you feel like, what you think about yourself. Like those are some prompts. Like write all of that stuff down and then do the exercise that we talked about earlier, which is when I feel negative emotions, find like look at all the thoughts and say, how do I feel when I think this thought? Identify the ones that are negative, circle them, and then look and say, how can I take this negative thought of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not X, Y, or Z, I don't have this, money is hard, I'll always be poor, whatever, and shift it, like almost take it to the complete inverse and make it an empowering belief. And then start repeating those empowering beliefs every single morning from here on out. And watch how quickly elements of your life change when you start reprogramming your brain. Your thoughts and beliefs, and then energy at the highest level create your reality. And so your world is not happening to you. You're creating it. And so that is a tangible, practical, free exercise that anyone could do tomorrow.
Chris Walker, what an amazing conversation. Thank you for your wisdom, your unique perspective today. If someone is watching, they're listening, they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and say hello?
On Instagram, my handle's Chris Walker 171. You can also follow or connect with me on LinkedIn. It's also Chris Walker 171.
Connect with Chris, learn with Chris. And if you want to continue to unpack what we talked about today, happy to send you a copy of my best selling book, Banking Unchanged. Send me a text, 832-240-1922, and it'll expand upon further the thoughts that we've shared here today. Thanks again, buddy.
Cool. Thanks for having me, JR. What a blast.